This is Heather Vale with Vegas Unveiled, the new show that takes a look at all things Las Vegas. And we're here today in the home of magician Greg Gleason. Greg, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Heather.
So tell me a little bit about why you think that Las Vegas and magic seem to go together so well.
Well, you know, it goes back quite a while. Actually, Siegfried and Roy, when they moved to Las Vegas in the 60s, magic wasn't big in Las Vegas. And they came in and said, you know what? You guys need to have us. We're going to be the next big thing. So they ended up at the show at the Tropicana, then moved to Bally's, which was MGM. Later had their own show at the Stardust, and then signed a huge contract at the Frontier. And at that point, magicians started coming here. And David Copperfield played here. Doug Henning played here.
Doug Henning from Toronto.
A lot of Doug Henning stuff around here.
Yeah.
And then slowly, LA was the big magic capital. But in about the 90s, it really changed, really turned around.
Because these days, it's like you almost expect when you go to Las Vegas, you're going to see a magic show.
Well, there's one in almost every casino.
Yeah, and you had one in a casino for a while. Tell us about that.
I did. I was, when I first moved out here in 93, I did 9,000 shows at the MGM.
Wow.
And then later on...
9,000, how many years does that take?
That took me 4 years, but it was, you know what, it was an amazing theater. It was built specifically for the show, and it was theater in the round. Okay. So the stage was in the center of the theater, and because the stage is in the center of the theater, there's no wings, there's no backstage. So all the props were actually on cables, and they would come down and land on the stage. And then we would do the tricks, and then we'd go up. And there's one part where I would just vanish on stage, and the whole theater was actually built on hydraulics. So when I vanished, the whole stage, the whole floor dropped, your seats and everything dropped. And then the whole theater started moving, and then this giant emerald came down to the ceiling, and I appeared in it. So
out of the emerald.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was called the Emerald. It was the Emerald City. It was actually built exactly like the Emerald City from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
And then after that, so I did 9,000 shows there, 93, 94, 95, 96. And then later on moved to the Venetian, had my own show there. And then last year we were at Bally's.
And that show was called?
That was Masters of Illusion.
Masters of Illusion. Same name as the TV show.
Masters of Illusion,
right,
which we taped season 6 in January, and it'll start airing in June, so in a couple months from now.
So what's the concept of that TV show?
That TV show is magicians from all over the world. And
trying to impress each other, or just showcasing?
Showcasing, trying to impress the audience. So we're basically all friends, so we know each other.
Okay. And are you involved as a producer on that show?
I am not.
How did you get involved with it?
You know, it's interesting because they were calling me for a couple years, and they said, hey, we have this tour, and I was always busy. I could never do the tour. And then when they started taping the TV show, I said, you know what, I need to be on that show. So so 5 years
Darn
ago.
it, I gotta be there.
So 5 years ago we started taping, and we've been taping, we tape every January or February, and then it airs June, July, August.
Okay. So I know that you don't just perform as a magician, you also create illusions that other magicians use.
Right.
So what's the process of coming up with an idea, this is going to be a new trick, and then bringing it to fruition, making it a reality?
It's different every time, and sometimes it's I decided at one point I wanted to make a helicopter appear on stage. Okay. And I wanted it to appear in a fully lit stage, center stage, and so that eliminated a lot of ways to make it appear. And I just worked with all those limitations and figured out a method. So that was actually, I had the idea first and then had to figure out a method. Okay. But sometimes it works the other way. Sometimes you have a method to do something really cool, and what am I going to do with that method? And then that becomes the illusion. Okay, so it can work both ways.
Once you decide what the method's going to be, how do you get it built and actually created?
There's a whole bunch of different ways.
Okay.
A lot of people will go to magic builders and have it done. But I have a lot of experience in building, in woodworking and welding and all that stuff. So I'll do a lot of it myself. Okay. And that saves a lot of time because I know exactly how I want it to work and what I want to do, and explaining it to a builder might take, a lot of time.
Right. Okay. And I know, like, for example, that one you just mentioned, the helicopter. I've
Right.
seen that on stage with Marshall Silver.
Right.
That's your illusion.
That's my illusion, yeah.
Okay.
Marshall's a very good friend, and he's the only person in the United States I allowed to do it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So in general, when you come up with an illusion, if you're not going to do it yourself, or do you do them all yourself?
I do them all myself.
You do them all yourself.
Yes.
And then how do you get the word out there to other magicians that, hey, you can also...
You know what? I never do that. And they see me do it, and they'll
Okay.
say, hey, I want to do that.
Okay.
And maybe I'll make a deal with them, maybe I won't.
Okay.
But I never design. I design sleight of hand tricks and smaller tricks to sell to the magic market, to the magicians around the world. But my illusions, I build for myself, and occasionally I'll let other people do them.
Okay. So when you're creating the small illusions that you're going to sell to the,
Right.
the magic community, how do you get the word out there? Is it just kind of word of mouth?
There's magic magazines, and I would advertise in the magic magazine. There's a lot of things on the internet where they have internet stores, magic stores online, and I'll just let them know that I have this product available, and they'll buy a bunch of them and sell them through their site.
Okay. So which do you do most? There's a few different types of magic. There's the huge illusions,
Right,
which
I do
we
those,
think
yeah.
of Copperfield,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then there's the small sleight of
Yeah,
hand,
I
like
do
the street
that,
magic.
yeah.
You do that too?
Yeah.
Which do you prefer?
All of them.
Okay.
And then I do a mentalism show, which is all mind reading, and then I do a whole sleight of hand show, a formal sleight of hand show, where I will be sitting at a table. In fact, a lot of times I'm in theaters touring right now, and all I bring is a deck of cards and some coins, and I have a video camera on the table, and I do a whole hour with just the cards and coins.
Okay. So can you
everything.
show us a card and coin type of
Yeah,
thing?
maybe in a few minutes.
Okay. And we have a lot of hats around.
Yes.
Whoa, this hat
Yeah.
is, so why did top hats become so ubiquitous? When you think about magic, it's always the top hat. Why is that?
You know, that goes back to the 1840s, 1850s. There was a magician named Robert Houdin, who actually, when Houdini's real name was Eric Weiss, and
I did not know that.
Robert Houdin was his hero, so he took that name Houdin and put an I on the end of it,
Okay.
meaning like, and became Houdini. But Robert Houdin is kind of like the grandfather of modern magic. And back then in the 1840s, that's what they wore. They wore tuxedos, tails, and top hats, and that's what they wore back then. So it just kind of became associated with magic, and we never grew out of that.
And a top hat's the perfect size to have a rabbit inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. So tell me about this guy behind us, the King Tut.
This is one of Doug Henning's favorite illusions. He did this actually on 2 of his TV specials. He did it on his 1978. This was built in 1978. And Doug toured with it. It was on Broadway. And I was lucky to acquire it when Doug passed away. So I have several Doug illusions, but this is one of my favorites. So
And I
keep
think
it in here.
as a kid, I think I actually saw him doing that back in.
You probably did if you saw him on TV or if you saw
Oh
him
yeah,
on
I used to
TV.
saw him all the time.
Yep.
Because, yeah. From Toronto, he's from Toronto. Yeah.
That's where he started.
Yeah.
Spellbound.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
so
then-
he's I actually think it's kind of funny that so many of the magicians I know here, he's one of their inspirations, and to me he was just that guy in Toronto, and
yeah.
you know, he ran for council or something.
And that was after he retired from magic and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, Doug, that's an interesting story. He graduated from college and he's walking down the street and he runs into his friend Ivan Reitman, and he goes, "Hey Ivan, what are you going to do?" He goes, "I'm going to be a movie producer or a producer." And he asked Doug, "What are you going to do, Doug?" And he goes, "I'm going to be a magician." And Ivan goes, "I'll be your producer." So Ivan Reitman, who did Animal House, Ghostbusters,
yeah.
all of those, actually did Doug's magic show was his first project.
Really?
Yeah.
That I didn't know either. Okay, that's a good story. So how did he go from producing magic shows into producing Hollywood movies?
Ivan Reitman?
Yeah.
I bet it was all of his connections that all started with Doug.
Okay.
And actually, you know, Ivan Reitman produced Spellbound, which was in Toronto. And then producers from New York, from Broadway, saw it and said, "Hey, we want you to come to Broadway." So Ivan was the producer, so he went with them. And who knows the connections he made there. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know that. I don't know that step exactly.
Something like that,
Yes.
though. Okay. So magic's interesting. I mean, we all, when we're kids, were fascinated by magic.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us just, fascinated by trying to figure it out, or fascinated by, wow, how'd they do that sort of thing? And some kids end up wanting to try some tricks and realize that it's a lot harder than we thought it was going to be. So what was it that drove you to go past that and get to the point of, no, you know what, I'm going to be really good at this, and I'm going to actually make a career out of it?
The money. I was getting paid.
You're getting paid right at like 5
I was
years
getting
old.
paid $15 a show when minimum wage was $2 an hour. So $15, $2. I think I'll be a magician. So
How old were you when you started?
I was 12.
Okay.
I had my first show when I was 12, and then paid my way through college with it, and then ended up doing it in nightclubs, and then took a short break and ended up owning nightclubs.
Mm-hmm.
And then in '91, I said, nah, I think I'll do magic full time, and then been doing it since.
Okay. So at 12 years old,
Mm-hmm.
the little Greg Gleason at
Yep.
12 years old, how did you decide to go for that first gig and actually convince someone to pay you to perform for them?
I don't even think I had to do that. I think, it was the shows were for kids' birthday parties.
Okay.
So I was just a kid, and,
They were your friends?
let's say I was 12, and then the neighbors' kids were 7 or 8.
Okay.
And they said, why don't we have Greg come over and do a show for the kids? Go, okay, $15. Okay, then I got to buy new tricks with the $15. So.
Yeah. So were there ever any times when you're in the middle of a show and something just goes horribly wrong?
Never, absolutely never.
Absolutely never. Yeah, I don't believe that one.
Maybe a couple times.
How do you cover that? When you do?
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes the girl's floating and she just falls on the ground.
What?
And it's just kind of like, okay.
I mean,
Sometimes
I
magic-
assume
sometimes magic
you
doesn't
checked
always
that
work.
she's okay.
Yeah. She yelled at me and walked off stage.
Did that happen at a big show?
MGM. One time.
Wow. Okay.
When you do 9,000 shows, something's going to go wrong.
But only one time.
I know, yeah.
That's not bad.
That was.
Those
That's,
are pretty
one
good
out of
odds.
9,000.
Yeah. I'd have to say,
And, I put a guy in a guillotine and, this giant blade went right through his neck. Perfect 9,000 times. No problems there. So a girl falling on the floor, that's okay.
Are these girls that do the magic assistant, are they professional, like that's all they do, or are they also dancers and performers in general?
I'll hire dancers because they're already trained to be able to do that. So they're already trained how to walk on stage, how to stand on stage, and how to move on stage. And their dancing just helps a lot. And they're usually very athletic. So.
Okay.
And even when she fell, she only fell a couple feet, and she just really laughed. And it was pretty funny, actually.
All right, so
One time there was another time, different show, when a girl was floating and she wouldn't come down. She just stayed up there. So we go, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, she's just gonna float up there. Close the curtains, and I walk over.
That's
she came down later. So
that's the kind of error you want to happen, because I mean,
know.
as far as the audience is concerned, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like he did it so well that she's stuck up there.
She's just gonna stay there all night.
So do you cover it and pretend that it's supposed to be that way?
Oh, sometimes. Yeah, if you can. Sometimes it's obvious that you can't
That
cover
it's
it.
not. Do you ever have that?
Actually, a good friend of mine staged that, where the girl was floating and fell, and for YouTube, and it went viral, and he's on TV all the time, and that's all they talk about. That time when you're floating girl and she fell, but it was all planned out. It was all planned out. He's brilliant. It was like.
Are you gonna tell us who that was?
No.
Okay, yeah, it's a secret.
You can Google it. Actually, he's a very, very good friend of mine, and we're working on a project together.
Okay, cool. Do you ever have that annoying person in the audience who's trying to figure things out and telling everybody, "Oh, this is how you did it"?
Occasionally, but when you have 500,000 people in your audience, you don't really know if they're doing that or not. And some people might be sitting there saying that, and usually they're wrong, and we just keep going.
You know what I find? I find that knowing how the trick is done doesn't ruin it for me. Like, it actually, to me, it makes it better, because Okay, I know
Well, 'cause
how
they're-
he does
the-
it, and
the
it's
secret's
like,
only this much. The secret, because you have the whole trick.
yeah, it's all
It's a
in
whole
the
production.
performance. Yeah.
You have the set, you have the lighting, you have the music, you have the dancing, the choreography, you have the costumes, you have the props, you have all this appeal, and the secret's just one little bit. So, you know, it's like you're watching this whole show, and something amazing's happening, and even if you know the secret, it's still amazing, and the whole show's amazing. So
Yeah, it's like the execution is better
Mhm.
than
Yeah,
anything.
exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of execution, can you execute a trick for us?
Maybe.
Oh, we got some cards in the top
there.
hat. You know, I think it's just kind of waiting for some.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to go get something. Why don't you
Okay.
chat for a minute?
All right, so he's gonna go get something, and we're gonna talk about King Tut here. So this is actually, he's got the book displayed here. This is actually Doug Henning doing the trick with King Tut. And Doug Henning, of course, as we were mentioning, is the magician from Toronto. But he inspired a lot of people, and he had a long-standing career. And the fact that this is right here, this is pretty cool. So that's why we had to frame this into the show, because, you know, it's one of the coolest props I've ever seen. And of course, it's got the colors, the purple and the blue. Looks really nice. And then we've got the special hat that I made him get out from the office. The magic hat,
Magic hat.
which I can't do anything with it except
How about a trick of the dollar
pose
bill?
with it, but sure.
Examine that.
Looks like a
Look
dollar
okay?
to me. Yep.
Okay, how are we going to do a close-up on this?
Okay, well, let's see. So we're gonna go from here, and we're just gonna zoom in there.
That's a good close-up here. Come on up and watch. Oops. Here, come on up here.
Okay.
Okay, here. It has to be right here so you can see it. No, right here.
Right.
Right there. So you have to watch.
Right here. Oh, gotcha.
There you go.
Okay.
Now you have to come back.
I have to come back.
Okay. Well, yeah, there you are. Okay,
Okay.
you're in.
Okay.
Okay, watch.
All right.
Regular $1 bill.
Yes.
Okay, watch. I want you to watch this, because if you take the $1 bill and you fold it just right and you unfold it wrong, you know what happens? It ends up where all the corners are in the middle. Now it's that way on the front and on the back. Is that?
Oh my God. That's crazy. That's like, how did that? I thought you were gonna turn it into 100.
Oh yeah.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, can you fix it?
I don't know. You have to tell me where it's at.
Yep.
Okay.
You're good.
So if I take it and you fold it up and you fold it back unfold it back the right way, it comes right back to $1 bill.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
See, I like close-up. I mean, I love big illusions.
Yep.
But I like the close-up magic because it's like, if you can pull it off when I'm standing right here,
I know.
it's more impressive.
Yes.
I think.
You should come to my show that I'm doing for Tim Weiss. You know Tim Weiss?
No.
Tim Weiss has a show, and it's called UnVALEd Magic, and it's all sleight of hand.
Okay.
And he does them every Saturday at the Royal Theater, and they're show at 2 and show at 4, and I'm on April 20th.
Okay.
So
That's Easter
a
week.
good friend. That's right.
Okay.
Are you in town?
Yes.
Okay, you can come. This week they have a good friend of mine, Rocco from New York.
Okay.
And then after that, they have Doc Eason is the last week, and I forget who's the next week, but I'm the 20th.
Okay. And so where is that again?
It is at the Royal Resort on Convention Center. It's right
So
right
near,
right
like,
by
Paradise.
the Wynn,
Okay.
and Las Vegas Boulevard and Convention Center. It's right where the Stardust used to be, and right
Okay.
there. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Right by the Pepper
Awesome.
Mill.
So if people wanted to get tickets for that, how would they?
They Hollywood, I think it's called HollywoodMagic.com.
Okay.
I'm sure, I'm not positive, but
You can Google it.
yeah.
It'll come up close enough. So besides.
our text, our
Oh yeah, I can
ask
add that.
Heather, and I'll find out right after this and give it to you.
Awesome. So besides that, you mentioned season 6 of Masters of Illusion.
We'll start airing in June.
Okay.
June, July, and August.
On the CW.
Yes.
Okay. What time?
Every Friday night, CW, 7 o'clock, I think.
Okay. And what else can people possibly see you at besides just walking around?
I have some really, really amazing things, but I can't talk about them right now.
Oh.
So.
Okay, well, that means we have to have you back on the show another time.
And I'll know in a couple of weeks. So.
Okay.
2 or 3 weeks.
Cool.
We'll know all what's going on.
All right, so if anyone's watching who actually wants to become a magician, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say buy the Mark Wilson course in Magic. That's the first one to buy. And then the Tarbell course after that. But the Mark Wilson course, you can just go on Amazon or eBay and look it up. Mark Wilson course in Magic.
Okay.
I started with it, and it's still the best thing to start with.
Really? All this time later?
I know.
Okay. All right. So.
Still 10 years later.
So when they're out there performing their first few tricks and feeling that they're failing, feeling that they're not pulling it off, what would you tell them to keep them going mentally?
I would tell them to practice so they don't have that problem.
That's the answer to everything.
Practice.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Perfect practice.
Yeah.
Perfect practice.
Okay,
practice doesn't help. Practice doesn't help. I mean, you keep practicing until it's perfect. And then after it's perfect, perfect practice is when you keep doing it every time and it's perfect.
Okay.
So practicing, you can be screwing it up every time.
Yeah.
But when you get it perfect, and then perfect practice is once you can do something 100 times perfectly, then you go out and show somebody.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Sounds like good advice. Do you have a website or anything people can go to?
GleasonMagic.com.
GleasonMagic.com. We'll remember that one. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Heather.
Greg, this was awesome.
Thanks for coming by.
Okay.
See y'all.
Take care and tune in. Find us on VegasUnVALEd.com. That's VALE, like my last name, Heather Vale, VegasUnVALEd.com. And we're produced by Heather Vale Media, HeatherValeMedia.com. If you need any photography work, any video work, any kind of production, give us a call.